Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast. This time discussing main range release from Big Finish of Doctor Who number 215, Fiesta of the Damned. Or as it would have been called in those days when we used to name Doctor Who episodes after Friends titles. Oh yes, remember that phase we went through. The one with the Spanish Civil War. Now that we've hit the ground running with Mel and Ace and everybody's hunky-dory and nobody's a traitor and everybody's happy, well, we can now settle in. And the problem with this is, well, there's no real problem with it. You see, I'm not a gatekeeper of fandom, and can I just talk about that for a moment? I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and I'm not sure there is such a thing as a gatekeeper of fandom. What there is are people who lack certain social skills. People who feel a sense of propriety, a sense of ownership of a certain property. And when someone goes online and wants to discuss this sort of thing, they're the loudest shouters. So you could call them the gatekeepers if you want, but there's no one really out there doing this. This is just some people who really don't know how to communicate and want things for themselves. So if they're the people you're thinking of, then they are the gatekeepers, but they have no power. They only have power if you let them. They're not even bullies, because they don't know they're doing it. They're not doing it for any gain at all. They don't feel better about it. Shall we move on? I think so. I'm not the 2-minute Time Lord after all. I don't have a well thought out argument. I just have some emotional responses. So, this business with the Fiesta of the Damned. Let's read the synopsis and see where we go from there, shall we? In search of a taste of real Spain, the TARDIS transports the Doctor, Ace, and the rejoined crew member Mel not to sizzling Fortaventura or the golden sands of the Costa Brava, but to 1938 and the horrors of the Spanish Civil War. Having fallen in with a ragtag column of Republican soldiers, the time and space travellers seek shelter from Franco's bombers and the wall town of Farissa, only to discover themselves besieged by dead men returned to life. Yes, it's got that late 30s Curse of Fenric kind of 40s wartime feel. But it's not the Curse of Fenric, because on this level, on this one aspect, it's very important, it's different. Yes, it's historical in the same sense. Yes, it's got people from the undead turning up. But the whole motivation for the undead and the characterisation and everything that's going on references something else that's happened in a different Big Finish story, but that's not important, and it doesn't affect your enjoyment of this story one tiny bit. But more importantly, the fascists win. Yes, Doctor Who's entire history has been spent beating back the fascists, the oppressors, the monsters. And Franco's Spain was a fascist state. It stayed out of the Second World War because of this, and he managed to stay in power till his death in 1976. The Doctor is fighting with the losing time, and it's a historical story, a historical fact that they lose. Does that stop them fighting? These are things which Doctor Who has been meaning to be dealt with for some time, and just hasn't quite got round to it, like that pile of paperwork that you know isn't terribly important, but really needs to be looked at. Well, that's what this is. Oh, and by the way, when this podcast's finished, go and deal with that pile of paperwork. I command it. Seriously though, this is a great background for a story. You are always with the rebel fighters, but because this is Earth and you know what happened, or at least you have a pretty good idea, and this is explained in the story, then you know what's coming. You know it all is going to end badly, and still there's the alien intervention, the zombies, the monsters, the undead creatures, just like Curse of Fenric. So if you like Curse of Fenric and you like that setup, go for this. Just get it. Whether this takes place in Ace's personal timeline after Fenric, that makes sense, but it's not really genuinely important. It just works. It's a brilliant, brilliant story, and it is told remarkably well. I cannot fault it at all. Yes, you may skate over it on your way to finding something with a returning villain or some sort of monster that you can latch onto and understand, but don't ignore this story at all. Go with it. It's a little gem. And with that, I'll fade away, let you hear the trailer, decide for yourself. You know the pack drill. Remember, you can follow Geek Myths at geekmyths.net and find out more about my book, which will be coming soon-ish. So until next time, be seeing you.
Felipe, we don't keep you around for your skills as a soldier. Play something.
Coming soon from Big Finish Productions.
Here we are, a taste of the real Spain. Sea, air, sunshine, lazy days on the beach, all the peace and quiet you could want.
Secondary scout form sourced. Updating.
I'm the Doctor, and these are my friends, Ace and Mel.
Save it, Professor! Everyone, run!
I've seen things, Juan. Monsters come in all shapes and sizes. There are strange things in the universe.
I can't help but think I'm looking at one of them now. Who are you, Mel?
All on one, eh? Not very sporting.
Power level limited. Operating at minimal levels to conserve.
Get back to the TARDIS! Get down!
Comments rewriting now.
Doctor Who, Fiesta of the Damned.
Big Finish. We love stories.
That was the Doctor Who Tin Dog Podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, RSS, Vimeo, and across the internet. Doctor Who and its associated properties are all copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Why not become a supporter by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.